Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 4 of Mindset Talks, a spark of passion. My name is Saif and I will be your host for today's show. I know we took a bit of a break and it was actually a much needed break. Don't we all deserve breaks once in a while here and there? What do you think, Zainab?
Definitely. I think having breaks is vital enough because if you really want to do something, you need to have a proper mindset. And I think mindset comes with a lot of peace. And peace comes from having a good break in between.
Absolutely. So the reason, taking a break at times, it helps you find yourself. It helps you find new content. It helps you dive into new areas, which is
Yeah.
exactly what I did. And now I am really happy to be back and to be here with me for the return episode. We have Zainab Rafeek. Say hi, Zainab.
Hi. Thank you so much, Saif, and thank you, I think, to the platform Mindset for having me. It's a great pleasure, and I believe it's very important to have this platform where you have real talks and real conversation with people. So it really helps others around and striving for the better cause for the community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, by the way. Now, for many of our viewers who are watching us for the first time, or maybe some of the viewers who have been with us since episode 1, me and Zainab actually go all the way back to Saudi. Don't we, Zainab?
Yeah.
Yeah, so me and her, we grew up together, for those of you who are wondering. We grew up together, so that's why I wanted to bring someone like her to this podcast, because not only is she studying at RI, you're doing law, and you were also telling me a couple of other things as well, Zainab. What was that?
Yeah, so currently I'm doing my international relations and forensic science, and also I'm currently working on the labor reforms, so something that I'm passionate about, and definitely CLM, and yeah, new things coming up.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Exactly. So that right there was the thing I wanted to highlight, CLM. Okay. But before we dive deeper into CLM, I actually just had a pretty quick, curious question. Why the law per se? What interested you to go and pursue your degree in law?
well, to be honest, I would say I think life had carved its pathway. So to be honest, I just followed my gut feeling. So I remember throughout, I felt like I was carving into the medical arena, and sometimes you do get your God awakening, seasons off. And I remember sitting for my final A-level paper, and I remember while doing my paper, I felt okay, so this is something interesting, but at the same time, because I was brought up into the medical arena where my dad itself was in to the medical field, so it didn't kind of interest me, though I knew, so despite getting my scholarship to USA and Pakistan, I was ready to get my tickets actually a week, like the next week, and I'm ready to fly off. And deep down, I had this feeling of stating, okay, this is not what I really want to do. So it was a lot of effort that I had to come back, and mention off to my family that I don't think I really want to do this. I want to strive off for something else, but maybe in the future, something off will carve off. And I believe it took me 3.5 years to get back onto somewhere down the lane, CLM carved its pathway, which I will bring off that story later on. But yeah, law, the reason why law was none of our family members or even paternal, maternal were into the arena of that. And I believe it was something that looked very clueless and challenging for me because I'm always a very inquisitive and curious kid. So yeah, I think not knowing anything to knowing something now in the field of law. So that's how I got into it.
That's something, right? That's actually really good. But I must say the courage it must have taken for you to tell your parents at that time, right there, like right at the spur of the moment.
I think I should also thank my parents because they it was not easy, because definitely, at this very point in time, I do see a lot of kids having that issue where, when your kids want to do something, and, when your parents want to do something, and it's very hard to convince them. But I think I was given that platform enough to actually let me do what I want to do. So I think that credit also goes to them.
Absolutely. I mean, in a way, it's also like you were empowered to choose your own path. And by choosing your own path, that eventually led you to starting up CLM, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, it's kind of linked together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about CLM, right? The first question I have about CLM is why? What sparked that idea inside you? Like, okay, you woke up one day, you had an epiphany, I'm going to start something like this. What was the entire backstory behind that? Let me know about the roots. Let us know.
Well, so basically, the first thing off is, I think it was never planned, to be honest, starting off with CLM, to be honest. But I think the root of helping people was something that was rooted off from my maternal and my paternal family, and also from my very own dad, because it was off like, we were always brought up trying to do something for the social service and community off. So that was it. And I think when I started off CLM to start off, it was during the COVID pandemic, 2019. So during that arena where I actually figured that, but actually helping off the people who are battling like cancer, heart disease, and mental health was something into my head back then itself. I remember when I was 10 years old, I used to keep telling my dad, like, it seems very hard for people who are actually battling, these kind of diseases and things like that. But it seemed very impossible, because that was the mentality that was put in. So there was a lot of sympathy that was put in, and they tried to segregate themselves. And and then that's how I just left off that whole part of, that trying to help off and things. And it just went off, life took its pathway. But while I was sitting for my second year law exams, and I think thanks to COVID. So I remember getting off to my dad's clinic one day, and I was just reading one of his book while I was actually cleaning off his clinic. And just to my surprisement, as I mentioned, I'm very inquisitive and curious. I had this one book, and I saw the word capsaicin. And at the same time, I also, for the past few days, just after that, it was like the people who are very close to me, and from abroad, and in most of the places, there were a lot of messages where either one of them were battling one of this. So it kind of got me a bit emotional, and got me really into a whole drive that, this felt like something very more into God's awakening thing, that, I should start it off. And it was very it was just a cliche. It just seemed like, okay, I want to do it. And then started off with just telling 2 or 3 of my very close friends. And I think that's how CLM got into place. But it was never something that I ever wanted to do, or never planned it off. Never.
Okay.
When I actually think about
so it was,
it. Yeah.
So it was a spur of the
Very
moment
coincident.
kind of a thing. A very happy accident. Happy accident.
Yes, exactly.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool. That's really, really amazing, for you to have, I mean, the reason why you started this entire thing, and the reason that it's been fueled right now, is because of your passion, right? Because of your passion of helping people out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that must feel amazing, right? But I wanted to ask a little bit of how, when you started the journey it took for you to get to this place. I'm sure it wasn't easy at all, right? Especially starting something like this. What were the good supportive comments, and what were the, the naysayers, right? Usually you have that kind of a thing.
Yeah. So I remember it was not easy as well, because it's definitely a huge amount of work and dedication, commitment that I definitely will have to put onto this. So I remember starting off this whole part of the organization, and I firstly would like to say that the support and the effort from people around, and I think this organized CLM, Capsaicinaz LM Foundation, defined the shades of friendship, to be honest, because it denoted school friendships, friendship all over the world, work buddies and uni buddies and people who I met. And I think just one conversation itself was more than enough to, none of them said no or yes. Like, it was just like, we're just starting this off and, would you like to be part of it? So it was a lot of positivity and hope out there. But at the same time, I think for every good out there, you always have something off as a negative. That's how, and that is part of life. So I remember there were 2 or 3 negative coming up, like, you're not, how would you actually, get into this when there's a lot of work and commitment? And I think another stated, you have to, you're too young to actually start something off, at this age. And another was, I think a barrier of, because I'm a girl, so being a woman, it's a huge barrier, and especially when it comes
sorry to interrupt, but I think the age was probably one of the most common reasons, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I think the other lacuna was entering into the Muslim family. So there was a huge loophole there as well, because cultural barriers and things like that. So despite everything, I think it's great, and I'm very glad and how CLM has paved its pathway. But yeah, that was few of the comments out there when we actually started it off. But I think the best way of that, how I moved and approached it was, I think when you really believe that you're doing something good, you don't really have to worry about others. And every critique that you actually get is what defines your strength. So you can't really call yourself, you're doing something really good. You can't really call yourself that you're actually doing something in your own way if you actually take into if you really take other opinions into account. So that's how I went off with that pathway. Yeah.
Absolutely. What you said is absolutely correct, because at the end of the day, this is your dream, this is your passion, right? It is entirely up to you to go forward. The naysayers, I mean, they act as a type of motivation, if I'm not mistaken. Right? They definitely act as a type of motivation, don't they?
I would say definitely, because every critic defines your strength. Because I strongly remember when I was mentioned the fact that I'm too young to actually start an organization, and the only question that came up to me was, why would that come up when you really believe that you really can do something, and when I know I'm actually going to commit to it. So that was one question that came up, and the second thing was the barrier of being a woman out there. And I completely agree to the fact that yes, definitely there could be things that a man can't handle, what a woman can, and a woman can't handle a man. Definitely there are barriers and responsibilities out there, but I don't think that should be one of the barrier for starting up an organization. And the third thing was coming off to the Muslim cultural barrier as well. So I was mentioned the fact that Muslim girls can't get themselves educated and things like that. So which was another thing, I believe, when you go into the spiritual thing, I think all women out there were educated, and they were, when you check the spirit, the scholarly thing out there. So that's how I put in. But one thing that I actually put out was you don't really have to speak back when you get comments like that. You just have to do your thing and let them see. So I think actions speak louder than speaking up. So I think that in ways when you get these kind of, because sometimes when you keep on speaking, they won't really understand the comments till you actually get it done. So yeah,
absolutely.
So that's how
it's I mean, rather than retorting to them right then and there itself, it's always better to show them your success, right, in the form of your
Yes.
action.
Yeah.
It's so much better and it's so much more satisfying. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely, um, but I think the most difficult challenge for you would have been the time management, right? I mean, uni, CLM, personal, like, how was that entire process?
Well, so basically, I think one good thing was, I think throughout the childhood as well, I was more into the extracurricular activities as well. So I was more into doing both parallelly. But definitely, when time got into when I started doing, degrees off and parallel degrees, it was a bit of a little challenging. But what I did was, whenever I had a free time off somewhere down the lane, I would actually try to get the CLM into the night pathways, into the night hours and studies into the morning. And somehow, yeah, best way off was journaling and to-do list, which actually got its pathway. But I think at the end of the day, when you really, really like something, you will always find a way off to do it. So that was something that actually explained a lot of things during the process, because I'm also learning and we all are growing. So I think that was what I learned from that.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Because like you said, if you have the passion to do something, naturally at the end of the day, no matter how busy you are, you'll always make time for something that you love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And pair it up with your passion and pair it up with the learning experience. I think the learning experience would be one of the most important aspects in your journey right now. Right.
Yeah. Um, it has been quite a lot of challenges, and I think a lot of new elements that I learned during the process, because I think it's not just about starting up something, but it's about keeping the internal and external things on track. Because when there's a deadline off, and when there is a database which is missing off, and keeping communication, delegation, and things like that. So it is a lot of work, but at the same time, as long as you keep a to-do list and journaling on what you really want to get off with, then I think it just paves its way. But all that I can say is all great things starts with a small step. So that is literally what denoted a lot of things that even I started, because I remember one of my very close friends stated, just few days ago, few weeks ago, the fact that we started off with nothing, to be honest, and we are on the way. So so I think that is something that I would like to keep telling to everyone out there who's actually watching, that you don't really need to have everything in place when you really want to start something. Even one thing off that you really, even if it's just your mindset, or even if it's just your self-confidence, should let you go to where you really want to be. So it doesn't really need to be that you really need this and that and everything in place, because if you really wait for that, you're not actually going to get to where you really want to be or do. So you need to start something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's so true right there, because it's so much better to go forward in tiny steps rather than not to go forward at all. Right? It's better to have started something rather than not started anything at all. Right?
Yeah.
So having said that, actually, where do you see CLM down the line? Let's say in the next year or two, where do you see CLM? What's your entire game plan right there?
So at the moment, so as far as now, we are happy to state the fact that we have been chosen by Verite Research for one of the top 10 organizations in Sri Lanka for the capacity development program. And at the same time, we'll be having our physical launching very soon, because we started off CLM through an online platform. I mean, during the COVID pandemic. pandemic, so it was all online. And so now we will definitely be having the physical launching very soon in a month or two. And then at the same time, we have our directory panel for free consultation for mental health with 25 psychologists, certified psychologists on board. So that will be free, available through CLM and hotline, and everything will be provided. At the same time, inshallah, maybe it would in a year or two, hopefully cancer and heart disease sector will be also promoted on that, where we'll be having consultations on that as well. And at the same time, we are launching our CLM toolkit, which I'm currently working on. But so these are a few things that's up to date. And we also have our blog coming up. So that's a platform that we thought of, putting it off for everyone out there, for writers out there to bring up their opinions and views and things like that. So I wouldn't say in 2 years' time, but all that I can say is it's definitely going to keep growing. There's a lot of initiatives and there's a lot of project proposals that are definitely coming off. So all that I can say is I'm really blessed by the support of each and every CLM member, that I should thank them, because I think today we have grown to this level because of the support from our EXCO, managing VOD, and the members. So a big thank you to them. Yeah.
Of course, and as a fellow member of CLM myself, you can definitely count on my support for the upcoming events, for sure. So, I mean, we have been talking for quite some time, actually, Zainab, and I know that before we sign off, right, I know that there might be certain viewers who are watching this episode right now who might have similar ideas of starting similar foundations, similar societies to help with whatever cause they are passionate about, right? And to those struggling people, I just wanted to know, what would you tell them from your own experience? Now that you brought CLM to this level, what would you say to them as a word of advice?
So basically, I would state that believe in yourself even when the world is against you. So if you strongly believe the very goal makes you really happy, then work for it with passion, self-love, and confidence. Believing that great things in life always starts with a small step. And also, I would like to state that every critique is what defines your strength. And personally, what I always believed long back, which it was a coincidence that I just saw like a few weeks ago, which I had a journal, because I used to journal a lot, and it's literally what I used to keep writing, and I think it made a lot of sense over the few, is stating that do not go where there is a path, but go where there is no path and leave a trail behind. So believe in that, and if there's anyone who can stop you, it should only be yourself. So always believe in that, and if you want to really go to great places, you should always have a strong relationship with yourself, which is self-love.
Absolutely fantastic. That right there is very, very motivating indeed, Zainab. And I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and talk to me and to talk to the people who are watching and listening to this podcast. And to that, I very welcome. And to that, I say this is...
Thank you so much, SIEIV, for inviting me, and I think the platform as well. So thank you so much.
Very welcome. You're very welcome indeed, Zainab. And to those watching and to those tuning in, thank you so much for watching episode 4 of Mindset Talks, a spark of passion with Zainab Rafeek. My name is SIEIV. Have a good night. Thank you.